Excellent. So I want to say hello to everyone. I'm so excited to be with you this evening, and to this virtual open house for the data science program at Utica College. This is something that it's very exciting for me to talk to you about. And please, if you have any questions along the way, please go ahead and enter them into the chat. We'll try to answer them as quickly and as promptly as you can. And there's always going to be time at the end to hit all the questions, or we'll definitely get back to you. Alex with admissions is definitely monitoring the chat. And so without that, I just want to show this is a picture of our library at Utica College. I think it's a great place to start. My office is right across the way. This is a great picture of it, but this is the picture I prefer. It's a picture of me right out front. And Utica College is really a wonderful place. This library, and it's really just sort of one of those things that I just like to showcase that Utica College is definitely a lovely college. And we have a wonderful undergraduate population. We have a wonderful graduate population. It really is founded after World War II to help the GIs coming back from the war. And that was actually its founding was in 1946. And I'm really connected to that because I'm a veteran. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. But here's our agenda for this evening. We're going to do a quick introduction of the speakers. We're going to talk about data science and the career outlook, talk a lot about the program, what makes Utica College unique, and then we'll talk a lot about what it's like to learn online. Real quick about myself, some of you might have seen my bio online, but I went to United States Military Academy at West Point. I graduated before 9/11. And right in the middle of flight school, that all took place. And I spent about 7 years in the Army. And I bring that up because I transitioned from this really high intense job of being an Army aviator and then transitioned into academia. I got both my graduate degrees with the help of the GI Bill in North Carolina. And then I went to work at a hospital. So I kind of transitioned again from academia and the data-driven work I was doing into data-driven work in healthcare, which definitely had its own learning curve. So I'm used to these transitions. And many of you are probably going to experience that once you start down the road of becoming a data scientist, hopefully with us at Utica College. So, and then after I was at the hospital, then I found this job. And I have to tell you that I'm very passionate. I love my job. I'm one of the few people in the world that absolutely love my job. I love teaching. I love teaching graduate students, and I'm going to really enjoy being part of the journey with you. So with that, I want to introduce, and that's a picture of me real quick, back in my Blackhawk when I was a much younger person. I want to introduce real quick Sean. Sean he's really a wonderful person and such a hard worker. And he took a data science course as an elective when he was in the MBA program, and he got hooked. And it was really neat to see his transformation from this data novice to this data guru. And it happened right before my eyes. And that's the one thing I absolutely love about teaching. So with that brief introduction about Sean, I'll let you turn it over to you to introduce the rest of yourself.
Thank you, Dr. McCarthy. Like Dr. McCarthy said, I entered into the MBA program. I basically, at the point in my career where I knew I wanted to do something else, but I wasn't sure what it was. So I jumped into the MBA program, really liked it. And like Dr. McCarthy said, I took an elective in the data science program and ended up getting my concentration for the MBA in business analytics. I loved it. When I finished the MBA, I kept going, and I also kind of did a career transition as well. So when I started the program, I was a supervisor, mostly doing administrative tasks. I wanted more of a technical skill set and to actually start doing more work again. The MBA started that, and the data science really finished it. So I've transitioned from being a manager, working on administrative tasks, to working as an economist in a data-driven decision-making, and then now currently working as manager of quantitative analysis at an investment firm. So it really, same thing, did a career path, and Utica really helped me get there.
Yeah, and it's really like a common, theme where people are really striving to transform themselves and see data as a pathway for that. And I'm very excited because it's transformed my life, and I see it happen with each of my students. It's very exciting. And again, I want to acknowledge Alex with admissions, who's here with us as well. So the three panelists here today, and I want to thank each of you for coming. So real quick, I want to talk real quick about the data science environment. And this slide helps us understand all the kind of different flavors there are out there, because there are different flavors, and there's definitely a hierarchy. And I'm so pleased that at Utica College, we offer a Master's of Science in Data Science, because I really do see it as this kind of big overarching science that kind of all the other ones kind of fit into. And that's the neat thing about the data science degree from Utica College, is that it can be in almost anything. A lot of people come in here, they want to do in cyber, they want to do in business. Those are all very wonderful and applied. But we have a social science aspect to it. We also, and if you want to do something totally on your own, or healthcare administration, or financial crime, those are all wonderful pathways you can do with the data science program that we have at Utica College. There are a lot of those other flavors are powerful, and you'll do some of those things too. But it's one of those things that if you learn the science side of data science, because you're like the first class, you're going to come in and become a data scientist. And that's very, very important to us. You're going to start modeling in the first class, and then we're going to move on, and you're just going to get deeper and stronger, and as you progress along your journey to become a data scientist. So just to talk about the career outlook, a lot of people really like to look at the dollars and cents of it, and that makes that makes sense, because there's definitely an investment you're making in yourself to take on a graduate degree. But the one thing I'll tell you about this is that especially in this last year, a lot of people have seen that the data science space hasn't shrunk. I do know some data scientists who've lost their jobs as a result of the COVID recession, but the ones I know lost it specifically in industries that were very, very hard hit. The one in particular that I'm thinking of was in the hospitality industry, but he was hired pretty quickly thereafter. This is one of those great jobs that you're part of a team. You're doing a lot of investigative work, and you're doing a lot of collaborative work, a lot of creative work, which is what I really like about it, is the creativity, the collaboration, and really just finding something new to help your organization, either help with the bottom line, make things more efficient, or a new insight that can really transform things. It really, really is a lot of fun. And that's the one thing that keeps me, seeing my students grow, but also, just digging in and finding things. That's really, really exciting for me. So there's a lot going on in this slide, but I want to point to the three circles on the right, the Venn diagram on the right. We all come in to data science with what we have, from all of our life experiences. And that's the one thing that's so wonderful about graduate school. Most of our graduate students, all of our graduate students, come in with so much rich experience. They have a whole bunch of domain knowledge. They might want to shift domain, but that's still going to be some very rich knowledge that they come in, some rich experiences. And some come in with a lot of math skills, some a little bit less, and some with some computer science skills, maybe it's a little bit less. But our goal is to push you towards the middle there, where that unicorn is, which I always think is funny. But it's one of those things that we want to strive to develop ourselves as much as we can, and to build those spaces to where we can become the strongest data scientists we can. Now, the domain comes from the specialization that either you're already in or you'll take on at Utica as part of your electives. Computer science and IT is baked into a lot of the classes, and the math. We have one specific class, but again, it's baked into a lot of the curriculum, where you're going to get a lot of math along the way. You might not even really realize that you're getting math. And then we have 6 courses. They run pretty sequential, although you'll get your electives along the way. And then we have the specializations at the bottom. Again, social science analytics, which is very special to Utica College, pretty unique. Business analytics, cybersecurity, and financial crime. Those are award-winning programs, acknowledged by the DoD, the NSA, very, very strong. But the last one I want everyone to strongly consider. A lot of people come into Utica College's data science program, and they've assigned themselves to one of those. But the general one, I think, is actually perhaps the most strong, because it allows each student to pick the 4 electives that best serve them. And it can be some in healthcare administration, it could be 1 cyber and 2 business, or 2 business to cyber and healthcare analytics, or something along those lines. Really allows you to tailor what you're doing. So Sean, what do you had some stuff you wanted to mention about this curriculum?
Yeah, definitely. So I think just first off, for my background, I was a undergrad in economics, but I would not say that I was strong in math or anything like that. I had zero coding experience, and I honestly wasn't a whiz at Excel. Like I went into that, and I still open eyes and was able to learn and advance. And I think I've found a love for math, even though within the data science realm. Excel has obviously gotten a lot better, and coding now too. So it was all skills that I either didn't have at all or I wasn't comfortable with. And by the end of it, I felt great. So that's just one aside. And then all of these courses were great. The core courses there on the left. So I've used pieces of these courses in so when I was in the program, I ended up getting a new job that was focused on analytics before I even graduated. And since then, I've gotten another job that's even much more focused in data science and quantitative analysis. So I've in both of those positions, I used pieces of each of these classes. And I really lean on a lot of this. I still have some printouts from some of the coursework in this that I lean to. Obviously, it's a lot. You're gonna learn a lot, and no one can remember everything. So it's always nice to have these the courses and materials to lean back on so you can look at. And then just job wise, I was able to get 2 jobs just from this program. Employers are looking for this. Almost every listing that I've seen has some sort of data component. Obviously, it's most important thing is to learn all of this, but these are a lot of buzzwords. Employers are looking for data mining, they're looking for machine learning, data visualization, and data science. So everything you see here is going to help you when you're in the program and then when you get out.
Thanks, Sean. And the one thing I meet with every student right at the very beginning, and this is a point I was going to make a little bit later. I meet with every student at the very beginning. We don't talk about data science. We talk about your life goals and how we can make this program fit. And I'm going to steal a little bit of my own thunder here. And I'll tell you that most of the time I advise students to start looking for a data job after the first semester while they're in data mining and machine learning. That is when you become a very powerful, you're very marketable at that point in time. By the time you finish machine learning, you've had 4/6 of the core. And after that, it's almost all downhill. You're already almost over the hump. You've learned a lot. And then through the electives, through the Capstone and the data visualization class, those are really meant to help you hone. So again, I tell students, maybe not start looking for a job at the very first semester, although I've had students be successful in that as well. I'm actually amazingly successful, some of my students. But at the same time, the best time, you don't have to wait till the end. That's the key point, is actually to help market yourself early. And you're going to have a lot of skills right away. You're going to be a data scientist, and the key thing for each one of these is to recognize that data science is well, we can cram into all these different courses like this much. We really try to maximize what we can teach, but data science is this huge. I mean, it's just getting bigger. And how can we give you the strongest foundation to be able for you to land anywhere and to go, okay, now, I have this foundation. I can do anything based on that within data. And that's what's really exciting, is that there really is, this foundation is really, really strong. I have to tell you that the programming language that I learned in graduate school, wherever, at the VA, they didn't have it. And so, but I had a strong enough programming understanding with SAS to pick up exactly what they were using. The same thing, program languages come and program languages go. So the key is understanding what's going on and how to apply it. So I'm going to go ahead into this next slide. So there's one, we talk about this a lot because this is actually a very important component, is the thesis or the capstone, which is under the umbrella of the culminating academic experience. And you have to have one as the thesis or the capstone. And another thing that makes Utica College's data science program pretty unique in the nation, or perhaps in the world, is that we offer a thesis option. That's not for everyone. It is a little bit more robust. It does require a committee. It does require some extra work along the way. But it is for those students who want to go on and get a doctorate degree, or working in, or want to work in a research space like think tank, something along those lines, an organization that's really, really more research driven. Most students don't opt for that, but it's really exciting when they do. There's some really amazing things that have happened and are happening. I have 2 theses students that are going to finish this semester, and they're going to defend just like I defended my thesis with a committee that's just like the committee I had. And we really strive to support those students, just like we strive to support all of our students. The second option, which is sort of the default, you have to really want the thesis to do it. It's one of those things you really want it. But most students opt for the capstone. And we're really beginning to, I don't want to say beginning, it's well established that we have these wonderful industry mentors, these companies that do 3 things for us. They provide data, they provide second readers, that domain experience, and they also provide the problem statement. So all of a sudden, we have Fortune 50 companies that are partnered with us. We have a major bank, and I would tell you more specifically about them, but they do ask because the data is so sensitive that they're sharing with us that we hold on to it. But we have banks, we have a Fortune 50 company that's partnering with us, and they give us these applied capstones, and the students are able to take this foundation that I just talked about and really help these organizations through some really neat iterations, provide a new lens. And these companies are hungry for that. And it's a great exposure to not only this really complex problem and this really rich data, but also these second readers who are just phenomenal and mentoring and guiding these capstone students. So it's a really, really fun activity. And we have those every semester. And I have a class that starts in 2 weeks. I'm just so excited about this next research capstone experience. So, but these are just some examples. And there's one there that I really particularly like. It was the El Nino's effects on commodities markets. And it was really, really fun working on that because, again, I'm not a commodity guy, but the person who did it was. And I think, Sean, you have some more information about this, right?
Yeah, yes, I do. So this was my capstone project. I basically wanted to take a blend of business and blend it with a different type of data. So I took weather data with El Nino's effects and pulled a lot of data from NOAA and other places like that, and then looked at it for agricultural commodities. So taking commodity prices for wheat, corn, and soybeans, and looking how those were affected in different areas of the country based on El Nino's effects. So it was great, and it was something Dr. McCarthy mentioned earlier. Like a great part of data science is like the exploratory nature of it and being able to drill down. So that was a huge part of this. I had read a article years prior to it on traders who were using weather data in Brazil to trade coffee. So that kind of sparked it, and I wanted to do something similar to that. So it was an extremely good learning experience. I have to be honest, so that my geographical area was a little too large, so the findings weren't what I was hoping, but also important part not to fudge anything. So I went with what I found. And then this actually played into my current position. This was something I had on my resume, and we talked about it in depth on my interview. And I really think it helped me get my current position.
And so the neat thing about this is that, this is the thesis if you want it. There's the capstone applied experience if you want it, but it's also exactly what you want it to be. And I tell everyone, whatever you're interested in, let's go for it. I have people who did clustering for NBA teams and players. It was really, really, really neat analysis. But that's what really got them excited. I have another student who did something really fun with NFL. They wanted to be able to predict who was going to win each week in the NFL, and they actually had a pretty good model. Not one that I necessarily would put a whole bunch of money behind, but knowing the limits, there were some opportunities. So it's one of those things that this can be exactly what you want it to be. I have to tell you that I generally am pushing most students towards the applied one just because it is so rich. But again, this can be just like the electives, something that you can really customize. I have students who did a whole bunch with what was it? Forgive me. It was the like not a bed and breakfast, Airbnb, and they just scraped a whole bunch of Airbnb data, and they found an Airbnb expert, and they did some really thoughtful Airbnb analysis. So this, again, that's what they were excited about, and we were able to support them doing a fun Airbnb analysis. So it's pretty exciting. This is when you think about your graduate experience, it's going to be courses And then just Capstone is going to be one of the main things that's going to go on your resume. And that's how it is on my resume. It says, this is my graduate degree. This is my thesis. And it's written out. The title's written out. And it generates, exactly like Sean said, a whole bunch of conversations that you can have, because there's so many layers to that. There's so many layers that go into that full project scope. So moving on to this next slide. Oh, I just wanted, I highlight here the applied industry mentors. So what makes Utica College different? It's hard to say exactly, but up here's our list, and I really have to say I'm really, really proud of our faculty. What's really, really, we have faculty that really, really strive and really, really dedicated to helping you learn. And this really dovetails really, really nicely into the next one. The class size. If there's a class size, especially in the core, where you look around and there's 22 students, that's the biggest class you'll ever be in. Most of them are capped at 20, and we work really, really hard so that the faculty have smaller class sizes to provide more engagement with you, better feedback. This is an asynchronous degree, but that doesn't mean you don't see faculty. I have open office hours. I have meetings with students. Again, I think I mentioned earlier that I meet with every student at the beginning of every 501 class, which is the introductory class that everyone takes, just to talk about goals. We really work on making our curriculum cutting edge, and we're actually constantly updating it. Believe it or not, the curriculum that I'm teaching now, I think Sean graduated a year ago, is different enough to where Sean would get it, but the classes are different. So we have some career services that are available, and we have an agreement, or we use the handshake to help with opportunities and networking. Lots of professional networking. I have to tell you, your class colleagues are really, really good, and we have a really good LinkedIn group with that. And the last thing is we access to licensed software, and everyone kind of goes, what's up with Alteryx? Alteryx, believe it or not, it's coding. It's coding on an enterprise proprietary system that allows organizations that use it to really quickly do explainable code real fast. And instead of bringing in a whole bunch of syntax, input colon, this file, this data, connect to this database with a whole bunch of syntax and Python or R, which of course those are things that you'll learn. Alteryx allows us to get right to modeling right away. And it's actually something that's becoming more and more and more common. When we started with Alteryx about 3 or 4 years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, it was very, very non-standard for any organization to have enterprise level software like that. Now it's so common. RapidMiner is an equivalent. DataCoo is an equivalent. Databricks is an equivalent. The enterprise systems are just massive. Southwest Airlines operates almost exclusively with Alteryx. They have like 630 licenses. The BNY Mellon, which is a huge financial organization, they have a whole bunch of different software, but they use Alteryx. Ernst & Young, major four, they use them all, but they definitely use Alteryx. So it's one of those situations where Alteryx it permeates a lot of major organizations. And Tableau is one of the industry leaders in data viz. And so you'll get the full licenses for those throughout the course. So as much or as little as you like. And the neat thing about it is that when you graduate, you can actually, your license usually doesn't expire right away. So you can also keep using them throughout. So do you have anything, how do you feel about Alteryx, Sean?
Yeah, no, I love it. I think it is the best data science and machine learning software that I've found. Mix of ease of use, the drag and drop. Drag and drop just is night and day from, like Dr. McCarthy said, having to type everything out, right? You're going to learn how to code as well, but if you're using Alteryx, you have the skill set to be able to work more efficiently, and you have just much more wide range of platforms and algorithms and all types of things to use. Yeah, no, it's great. And then if you want the code itself, you can open it up to see what the code was behind the scenes. So you can almost teach yourself a little bit more with R or Python by seeing what goes behind the scenes in Alteryx. Yeah, no,
Yeah, Alteryx uses R and Alteryx uses Python, so you can see what's going on. It is pretty exciting. And the one thing that people, if you don't point it out, it can go missing. But when you're doing data science with Alteryx, you're coding. But instead of using the syntax, 4 lines to bring in a documented format or some data file and to format the cells, you use a tool or two, and it's drag and drop. And organizations are using it because it allows a tremendous amount of understanding up and down the hierarchy from the data tech who is maintaining a database to data analysts to the data scientists to the managers who just have no idea about any Python scripting. The explainability that happens is a lot of the true value that comes from Alteryx, but it's programming. It really is, honest to God, data science programming. And you'll see that in all the enterprise solutions that are out there, Dataku, RapidMiner. There's just so many of them out there. We use Alteryx because they were one of the first, and they're fabulous. They're quite good, and they're growing. And they really love Utica College students. So real quick, some highlights of learning online at Utica College. Some really great academics, really accessible faculty. That's really the key. Like, the faculty are accessible. Many of you might have done some other online courses, and actually one of the most consistent feedback I get from students is like, man, I've never had so much contact with a faculty member before in any online class. And arguably, even some on-ground classes. You can sit in a class, but the connections that we have, the feedback you'll get whenever you reach out, we're there. I meet with students. I met with students early in the morning, and I've met students late at night to help them overcome things. I meet with them on weekends. I strive not to, but sometimes that's when people really need the help. And so I've actually I've been on a small trip, and I take breaks to meet with my students who need help. So flexible schedules. This online program is meant to kind of merge into your life. Most of you have jobs. Most of you probably have families of one sort or another. This is a program that's meant to have some flexibility. I know Sean, maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
yeah, definitely. So when I started the program, excuse me, when I started the program, I was actually, even before I started the program, I was looking at different programs. I took a class in person, and I had the commute. I had a 45-minute commute each way. Sometimes we start late and get let out early, and it just wasn't. I just found like that's what really opened my eyes to online courses, that you don't really need to be in person anymore. And I took another course that was online, but it wasn't any interaction with classmates. It was hardly any interaction with the professor. So then then I found Utica, and like Dr. McCarthy said, the interaction between faculty and students is amazing. I mean, I think I was definitely one of those people emailing on weekends and getting responses back within the hour, so I could continue to work on something that I was working on. And the interaction with classmates as well was great. So people are spread out all over the country, if not the world, and some of the courses that I was in. We all talk multiple times a week on chat boards, and we're working on assignments together and group projects. And one of my closest classmates that I still keep in touch with, she was out in Kansas City, and I was in Boston and DC. And we would talk multiple times a week and work on coding together and things like that. So the interaction between faculty and student it was great.
So I have to tell you, it's one of those situations where this is one of those, some people are concerned about an online degree. Some people are worried about the interactions. It really is what you put into it is what you get out of it. You reap what you sow. Your interactions with your class colleagues can definitely happen or not. There's people that might make their pathway through an online program and not actually have a lot of engagement. But that's, but the other times you have people that have tons of interaction. I set up groups in 501, and interestingly enough, there's been multiple situations where as they move their way, the students move their way through the program, I have them together in the capstone, and they're still hanging out once a week. because that's the sort of a little routine they set up. So, so I have to tell you so we strive to be flexible. The goal is to work it into your life. Things happen, 2 years to get a degree, people move, people change jobs, people find a significant other, people might lose a significant other. I actually had a student whose partner died. We find, that the person wanted to continue. We found a way to help them through these very, very challenging times. Life happens, and we recognize we're just part of your journey, and we strive to support you as you're on that journey. Smart thinking is one of those things. Actually, this is something new that Sean doesn't even know. That there's Python tutoring and smart thinking now. It's very exciting. There used to be like a writing something or other that we really helped students who needed extra writing support. But smart thinking now has Python tutoring built into it. It's pretty helpful. There's discounts for military, law enforcement, federal employees, and some corporate affiliates. Alex will have all that listed for you. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Engage Learning Management System. You can access that from any device. A computer is probably the best, but the session, there's interactive sessions that a lot of times we record them so that if you can't make them, you can definitely get all the information you need. So let me go to the next slide and let me show you what it looks like. So this is actually my current course, Teaching Data Science 501. And you can see it's organized into the eight modules. And each module has a theme, and there's announcements. And I really strive. It's one of those things that nothing's perfect, but as you're striving to keep curriculum updated, sometimes there's newness that comes in, but really strive to make things extra unambiguous. Make sure they're very direct and you can understand exactly what we want you to learn. And it's broken up into, you have learning activities, you have learning goals, learning activities, and then there's something to turn in usually each week. There is something to turn in every week, and it's very interesting. In that online space, your week starts on Monday and everything is due Sunday night. So it gives you all week to kind of prepare, do some work on the weekend. It's due Sunday night, and then I work like hell to grade everything on Monday or Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday. But I strive to give that feedback right away, and most faculty do that. It's really quite amazing how fast, because when you have work that's due the subsequent week, you want to make sure you have that strong, deep, thoughtful feedback that enables you to be successful on your next iteration. Most of this work is project based. If there's a quiz, it's almost worth nothing, meaning it's really there just to help you see what's the most important part of readings. These are all generally dedicated to help you by doing the work, by actually practicing on real data. So I don't know, Sean, is there anything you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I just thought the setup was very intuitive. It was nice that the courses, or each class, is 8 weeks and not 16. That you're learning a lot in an 8-week period, but it doesn't get stale. Like each week you're building upon the previous week, and you're, by the end, you're ready, right? And then you're ready to move on to the next one. Sometimes I think in a class that's 16 weeks, it's drawn out too much. This is definitely not the case. Like you're learning something each week, you're building upon it. The system itself is easy to use, and you're good to go. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed the 8-week setup and using the interactive system.
Yeah, and it's like when I was in graduate school, my 6 credit hours was full time, but I did 2 3-credit courses for 16 weeks. Here we have it, it's 1 3-credit course in 8 weeks. It ends, and the next one starts, and then that one ends, and the next one starts. So it's the same load as it was when I was an on-ground student. So there is a level of intensity that might come from that, but at the same time, it's just one class, and it allows you to focus. You don't have to okay, am I reading for this class? Am I reading for that class? You're reading for one class, and that level of focus, I think, there's a lot of value added in that. So we're actually coming to the very, very end of our presentation. We'd love to hear if there's any questions. Andrew, So how much time is there between classes? Here, let me go to the previous slide on this. What ends up happening, you see down here, like classes end on March 12th. That's when the final project is due and Data Science 501. And then there's a weekend. And then on Monday, Data Science 503 starts. So there's a weekend between those classes. And that's usually the case. Every now and again, between the spring and the summer, there might be a week. There's always winter break, which is 3 to 4 weeks between the end of the term in December, the beginning of the term in the fall. I'm sorry, in the spring. Yeah, are there any other questions? I'd love to talk more. There is I can talk about this all day. I mean, because I love teaching my students. I love data science. It is so rewarding to see. And I don't know if I mentioned this. I teach 501 right now, but the other key course that I teach is the Capstone. And so most students have me for 2 classes. Some had me every once in a while I'll teach a data viz class. But I get to see you at the beginning and I get to see you at the end. And it's perhaps the most rewarding thing ever, because I saw many people when they're brand new, data novice. And then I get to see them when they're data gurus, and it's so exciting. So we have a question about the minimum GPA to stay in the program. The minimum GPA actually, it's not a minimum to stay in, but the rules are, and this is going to get a little too specific probably. The minimum rules are you have to have a 3.0 to graduate. If you don't have a 3.0, then you have to retake a class to get that. That's a B average. And then if you fail 2 classes, you're invited to leave. And there's always different sort of appeals for that. There's one student who was able to appeal it that I know for sure. Rightfully, he had a lot going on and had failed 2 classes because of life happened. And it was really rather a bummer, but he was able to appeal that and he was able to continue on. It's really excited. And I expect him to graduate in the fall. So let's see, there's another question here. Are the projects mostly individual or group? So I'll say this, in the data science course, most projects are individual. Outside in the electives, especially in the business school, I think there are a fair number of group projects. What would you say to that, Sean?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. I think the majority of data science projects are on your own, although there was a few classes that had joint projects, but there were small groups and it was easy and everyone worked well together to divide out work. And then the business courses were definitely much more group based. Yeah, it was still a good mix. You still got to work with your classmates, but other times you got to focus on your own project. Yeah,
there was a question about are there jobs in Syracuse, or do most people move to work? So what ends up happening actually, and this is something, again, I'm stealing my own thunder here, is that most people are working in data organizations that aren't data driven. And I say that a lot of your opportunities are right where you are, because to move an organization from like having data and doing nothing with it to being data driven, that's more than enough work for any particular student. And again, data science is a team effort. So a lot of people can move. You might have to move. A lot of people like to strive to get jobs where they are, which is when before COVID was sometimes challenging, sometimes not. But now it seems like there's a whole bunch of people I know that are being hired and they never show up to where they're going. Like the laptop shows up in the mail type of thing. So there's lots of variations. Let's see, there's some other, my computer uses Power BI. Can I build in Power BI, or is Tableau required? No, so I'm pretty agnostic as it comes to platforms. Tableau is actually a very great tool to learn. Power BI is pretty good too. I have my experience with Power BI is limited. I'll just be perfectly honest, but I'm not against it. I think Power BI does very well for what it's suited for. All that to be said, I have students who like, can I do this in R? And I had a student actually, he did his work in Julia, And I dare some of you to go find Julia. That's the language that's likely to replace Python. It's already up and coming. All that to say, I'm pretty open to those opportunities. I think what you might be open to is to learning that new interface, because believe it or not, there in data science, there's this foundational ideas that we provide that can go anywhere. But there's also very important that it'd probably be really good for you to say, I know Tableau, I know Power BI and Tableau, and those skill sets are really, really important. There's probably it's probably one of those things that if you're really good at Power BI, Tableau is probably pretty straightforward as well. So someone asked about programming. Most students coming are new to programming. We strive to ease you into it, and that's why we start with Alteryx, because that's the logic of programming. Well, first I need to do this, then I need to do this, and then we dabble in R during 503. And so 503, we teach statistics, but we teach it with R, and that's where you start learning. And then believe it or not, I think we use R again in data mining, and then we use a little bit of Python and machine learning. Actually, I won't say a little bit, but you do. That's how we learn it. And there is a learning curve to anything. What I have found is, well, actually, let me let Sean jump in on there. How did you feel about the learning curve as it took place for you within the program for the programming?
So like I said, I had zero programming experience at all before going into the program. It was definitely a challenge. 100% it was a challenge. But I think that professors were very helpful moving forward and providing supplemental training and resources to help with the coding. And like anything, it just takes time. So the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And the students are also helpful too. Like I said, I worked with a classmate when we did a lot of coding together, because it was something that both of us wanted to get better at, and neither of us had very much experience, if any at all. So it takes time, just like anything, but it's something you can learn.
And this is one of those things that we're a data science program, and so we're focused on the data part. Programming is something that is part of data science, but it's actually much more of a foundational thing. So just it is emphasized. Believe it or not, that we have built-in tutoring for Python with smart thinking, and faculty really strive to help. There's a lot of tools that are out there now, actually, that Sean actually didn't get to take part of, but now there's the Google Collab, which is a way by which we can collaborate with students on their Python notebooks, and there are R notebooks. I haven't done it with R yet, but I've been told it's so new. But it's one of those things that there's ways to enable you to get strong. And again, this is one of those things, you reap what you sow. Can you get through this program with just a little bit of programming? Sure. Do you want to? I don't think so. I think you really want to dive in and get as dirty and as deep into it as you can handle. So here's a question. Here's another question from a guest. Can the program be customized to blend or add additional courses from different specializations? So the short answer is yes. So the specializations are basically 4 electives that we've designed to help you kind of get that strong foundational domain experience in business, financial crime, cyber, or social science analytics. The goal with that, again, is that, but there's just 4 electives. The requirement to graduate is 4 electives. So you can choose 1 from social science analytics, 2 from cybersecurity, and then 1 from business, or 0 from business, all from social science analytics, or an independent study. We have a lot of students that are doing independent studies. And again, this is something that we're striving to help students find new pathways. It's something that wasn't available to Sean, but we totally support now, where students go, well, I want to learn more. I have a student now, she was really wanting to learn a lot about data, ethics with data, and bias with data, and social responsibility. She did Capstone. She just finished it. It was really, really strong, but we don't have a class in that. It's kind of baked into the whole curriculum, but she was very excited about it. So we found a way to definitely get into that. We have a question about SQL. We don't get into SQL. SQL. We don't get into SQL. SQL is a database that is so. So the short answer is I'm expecting a SQL course to come very soon, but we don't have one right now. So I don't want to tell you there's one coming, and it would probably be around if you started this summer. It would probably be around for you when you got around to finishing machine learning. Actually, as we strive to make curriculum awesome and cutting edge, we really want to offer a course with SQL. We actually think it's so important that we're expecting to actually reduce the electives down from 4 to 3 and to offer that because we see it as so valuable. And so that's one of those things that I expected to happen in the fall to be offered in the spring, if not earlier. So the short answer is no, but it's coming. It's coming. Yeah, because it's one of those things that our students will just be so much stronger with it. So not that they're not strong without it, because what I feel about SQL is what I feel about all languages is that SQL's important, but if you have those foundational ideas, you can go and pick up any language you want. You can go pick up Julia, you can go pick up SQL. That's what I did. I knew SAS, I picked up SQL. I actually learned, I'm going to date myself a lot. In college, I learned Ada, which was when I learned it was already dead. But you learn some of those key calls, how to import, it's like, what are the 4 things you need to learn any language? How to import a library, how to import a variable, how to identify a variable, how to import a data set, and then how to run a loop. Once you kind of get those things down in almost any language, SQL is made for database queries. It's not too dissimilar from those kind of key ideas. Any other questions? Those are great questions, all. Yeah, I encourage you to ask Sean. And here's something that I want everyone to know. Sean is absolutely fabulous. But if someone wants a perspective that's other than Sean, a student perspective from a more recent graduate or another graduate, we have students, we have graduates that would love to talk to you. This is something that that's one of the things that I pride myself in is that when my students come in, they are, they're mine. You're my student. Just like my mentor paid forward to me all of the support that I've ever gotten from him. I strive to emulate that and pay it forward to my students. So it's really neat to recognize that this is not just a 2-year thing. I'm constantly writing letters of recommendation. I'm constantly checking in on my grads, on my students to see how they're doing. There's a lot going on, and I really strive to support my students all along the way. From the coursework to balancing, job offers. Do we go to A? Do we go to B? Well, let's weigh them and weight them and better understand what's going on. It's really something that I strive is to maintain a strong working relationship, with my students. Mentor, mentee, then grad, alum to old professor. So it's one of those things that I know it's a great part of the gig. I really dig it. Anything else, Sean? Is there anything you wanted to add?
I just think, yeah, if you're interested in data science, this is a great program. I recommend it to anyone who asked me for recommendation. Obviously, I'm here, so I highly enjoyed the program, right? But again, like everything that I have done during the program and since job-wise, I pulled from this. So it's a great education, it's a great resource, it's a great community, and you'll pick up a lot of the kind of platform you need to build upon, and then also come out with skills that other folks don't have. So you can jump right into a new position and hit the ground running. So if this is what you're thinking, if you want to go data science route, this is a great program.
And if you're already in data science, I have to tell you, it's absolutely amazing. I've had people. I had we had one of our early graduates. He came to us. He managed a team of data scientists, and he came because he wanted to be able to engage and get more out of them and understand exactly what they were doing. And then, it's from that, this main, almost basically an executive, all the way down to people who are truly trying to transform themselves from where they are in a either an industry or a job that they don't really prefer, and jump into this. And I have to tell you, there's almost nothing you can't do. I don't know if you caught what I just said there, but there's like, the data science is so powerful. Whether you work for a nonprofit, you work for a government organization like the VA or healthcare, it really is it's really kind of taking over. And then within the organization, you become highly valued. And within the organization, you become part of a team that's getting things done and providing new insights. And I find that truly rewarding. That's one of the neatest things, that when I was working to help transform healthcare within the VA, making it data driven, and then keeping those main foundational ideas that a lot of people, it just it just enabled me to be so powerful and to do so much for my organization. And it really is, when you have a data science degree from, it's particularly from Utica College, with small class sizes, engaging faculty, with, driven capstones, using software like we have, it, with project-based teaching. It's really, really, really rewarding.
Well, good. Well, this has been great, Dr. McCarthy and Sean. We've got a ton of information here that I'm glad that this has been recorded, because we'll be able to send this out to folks that weren't able to make it. And then for some of the folks that are here now and some that may have entered the webinar late, this will be recorded and we can send this back out to you to kind of review again. But Dr. McCarthy, Sean, I appreciate you guys doing this. This has been a fantastic, excuse me, webinar. And I think we've got some great questions that were answered today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time, Alex. Appreciate your time, Sean. And thank you for everyone who, all the prospective students. Hope to see you this summer or maybe this fall.
Yeah,
it really is. It's really a wonderful, it's a journey,
yeah.
But it's a great one, and I'd be glad to be part of it with you.
Absolutely. And for those who are looking to apply, feel free to reach out to us in the admissions office. We're normally here in the office Monday through Thursday until about 8 p.m. So we work late to service students all over the nation. And Fridays, we're normally here till 6. So feel free to reach out to your program manager, anyone you've been in contact with, or if you haven't been in contact with anyone, feel free to reach anyone in the office and we can help and assist. So, but again, thanks again. I appreciate everything, guys. This has been fantastic. And if there's no other questions from our viewers, we'll go ahead and end the webinar at this point. And we're looking forward to hearing or speaking to any of you in the future.